Action Comics 1049, Philip K. Johnson writing with Mike Perkins on the art. Obviously, we had the new gods showing up at the zoo last issue, and we also had obviously Lex further manipulating and interfering with Metallo to get him into the fight, as it were. And we see that's kind of where we start with this issue, is that when Metallo's sister didn't show up to visit, it's not just that she was held back. Lex literally had her framed for murder, as he explains to her, or explains to him, sorry, in this opening scene. And that maybe she'll get a lenient judge if Metallo does what Lex wants him to. This was never a request. He's, this is full on like evil Lex.
I'm so glad to have this evil, manipulative Lex back. Really give him his teeth back. Oh
sure, yeah. It's super malicious. And I think it works, just to skip ahead to the other scene with Metallo later, where, like, part of me was thinking, you didn't really have to kill the guard, did you? But the way he feels bad, he's like, wait, I like this guard. I was hoping you weren't working tonight, but I'm sorry. And then, like, as much as I'm like, you could have just knocked him out. But
I think that it drives the tragedy more, just because he's either 100% in or not, right? So him escaping like that, is justified by him
it
killing.
Maybe raise some questions. If he escaped and didn't kill someone, it might raise questions as to why is he acting out of character and what's going on, and maybe start, that starts them looking closer and sees the link with Luther.
Do you know what I think I like? Is that I think you can make some obvious parallels here with Two-Face and Detective right now, but what I like in terms of the differences is that while this is also someone being forced to do something they don't really want to do by a villain to be villainous, I think it feels very different to Two-Face in that with Two-Face there's this very kind of like good side to him, right? You get the Harvey Dent side and it's this Jekyll and Hyde thing, and like there's a real genuine good person. I feel like Metallo, on the other hand, just feels like this sad guy who's like, you know what, I'm tired of being the bad guy. I just don't want to do it anymore. It's not this grand thing. It's a lot more depressing and sad than the Harvey stuff.
Because at the end of the day, Harvey Dent was still, the prosecutor, the district attorney. He still has that side of him that wants to change things, and it seems like Metallo here is just given up. It's like, yeah, he might have been like a high-ranking army guy, but he has nothing else left. He's basically a brain in a shell. And he just, he even tries when Luther first comes to him, doesn't he try to kill himself by disconnecting?
He does, yeah. He tries
and that's
to kill
where
himself.
he tells him about his brother or his sister. And he's like, I wouldn't do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, because Lex is like basically the body he's given him is giving himself a way to like project himself and talk to him, and he like Metallo can't get away from it unless he kills himself. That's kind of where we're at with it. And that's all, pretty sinister in and of itself. But there's something so sad and kind of pathetic about Metallo in a sort of sympathetic way where he just wants to be left alone. He doesn't want to do anything bad anymore. He doesn't want to do anything good either, but he doesn't want to continue. He's done. So yeah, really really sad stuff. And then you've got the Superman with the new gods. Superman's like, I'm more powerful than I was before because of the new white star. All that stuff. Perkins art's pretty damn solid. Really moody.
Controversial. I don't think I like Perkins on this book.
So the first couple pages, they seemed a lot, I don't want to say messier because they're not messy, but just Perkins' style didn't seem to. But the more the issue went with that stuff, the more it fit in. So like the dark, as weird as it sounds, the darker parts of it didn't work for me as well as the stuff like at the zoo and with Superman and the New Gods.
I know, I quite like the art in the book. There is a little. I mean, Perkins naturally has a little bit of a messiness at times. There's a couple of panels in the action stuff where someone's throwing a punch and the angle or the body proportions are a little bit weird. But no, generally speaking, I quite like them on this book. It's not as perfect a fit as Swamp Thing, obviously, but I actually still quite like it.
I think he's fine on the Metallo stuff, and I think the War World stuff is okay as well. But the stuff just in the daylight on Earth, I think really doesn't suit his style very much at all. And again, it's not that I think Perkins is bad. I just don't think this is the right.
It just doesn't match for you, which I get. I happen to like it, so I can't. I like the stuff with Bibbo and going into the area and helping people. Just the way that's drawn with the shadows and stuff.
Yeah,
I think it works out really well.
The kids are using their powers to help.
Yeah.
And when they try and take the boy, because he's got the Ogle Run or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Basically, like, his power starts to erupt, and Superman has to calm him down, and basically explain to him that you're still you can get a control of this, but I'm going to have to like sort of help you teach you that, and we'll get a control of it together, kind of thing. But it's like, New Gods, even if you wanted to take him, clearly the boy can just erupt with power, and you couldn't anyways, so there's no point. And there's kind of like an ominous threat here from Orion, where he's like, well, if we can't take him, then we're going to have to figure out a way to separate the power from him, and if that kills him,
oh well.
This is on you, Superman.
Yeah. So
I pointed this out last time. The idea that both sides of the New Gods are working together to get the fire of Olgrin out of this kid is pretty ominous, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not often you see Orion and Calabac actually working on the same side.
Yeah.
So
it sells it as a big deal, having those two sides work together.
And also I'm gonna put up some flowers for Bibbo, for this guy who is just a guy that runs a bar in a bad part of Metropolis. Him facing down these New Gods and backing up Superman. So Superman's, standing there with the kids, and Bibbo is in the let's do this pose. I love that so much. Like, Bibbo's not saying anything. It's just the way that Perkins draws him with the posture. That this normal dude is willing to face down New Gods to help Superman. I need more Bibbo. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, so the big thing as well, which is sort of like the ongoing story, is that Superman goes up to Warworld and effectively says goodbye, because they're all being shipped off to their home worlds where possible, and effectively says, you have a right to bear the crest of El because you all wore it when it is a sort of a, in a hopeful act of defiance about, fighting back against Warworld. You have a right to that symbol and believing in it as much as I do. So he sort of burns it into all of their clothes and armor and stuff. So it's kind of a sad goodbye, and there's a glorious page of like Warworld leaving, because you see it next to Earth, and it's all very, very stylistic art. It's just very sort of blotchy and painty. It's really pretty though. The way
it's a little bit surreal.
Yeah. So it's almost like there's this cloud around Warworld that is just sort of like starts to clear once it's gone.
Yeah. Like a haze.
So it's very good. And then you get the scene with Metallo leaving and escaping.
Yeah.
And the big cliffhanger scene is that Manchester Black was snitching for Lex. And once again, when Lex says he's got one more thing he wants him to do, Manchester Black says he's not interested. And Lex just laughs, because people don't get to not be interested in what Lex wants. And he knocks him out with the press of a button. He screams in pain, he goes down.
Zaps him.
And he's like, you'll do whatever the hell I want you to.
So, someone's been taking some notes from Waller.
Yep, for sure. And then Manchester Black mentions too that he got him an orphan box. He got Lex an orphan box and one of the Unmade, which I'm sure Lex is going to do completely ethical things.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah.
Honestly, one of my favorite panels of the whole book might be the panel where Lex says "interested" with a smirk on his face before he starts laughing. I think that panel is great. It just really gives you who Lex is in an instant. Really good stuff. And then the backup, which is still Johnson, it's wrapping up this stuff with Chaitel trying to get his revenge. So it's a bit of a fight. Ultimately, Thel kind of beats him by taking it part out of his tech, which makes his monster falter. And we see them sort of at the end of the book, so she's got her new outfit on, it's got the Superman S on it and all that. Looks pretty cool. There's a bit of a cliffhanger at the end with someone coming to like rescue Chaitel. Does anyone know who this is? Exactly?
Yeah, that's the guy that killed Mongol. I forget his name though, but he was the Warworlder that betrayed Superman.
Oh, this is the Kryptonian.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The one guy, and that's how he appeals to Chaitel, is that he goes, you were with the Mongol who was, and he spoke highly of you, so why don't you come with me?
Honestly, because you get one panel of him, and I didn't recognize him because he's got a beard and an eye patch.
Yeah. I'm assuming that's who. I
mean, it's a good. Yeah, it's probably the best guess I could think of.
But what I liked about this story is even though this backup seemed to wrap up very, very quickly.
Yeah.
The other one, like the other parts of this one, felt like proper. This moved really quickly. But they were talking about how like Cheadle is this threat because of his reputation on Warworld, and that when Thal Law is looking at him in the jail cell because she spares him because that's what Superman would do, and that Cheadle also is kind of begging to be killed because he wants to die in battle. That they can't take the chains off of him, because it's inhumane and he'll scream and whatever. Yet he's now going to be carrying these chains to wherever he's going, and it's almost like this sinister thing of Warworld might be gone, Moggle might be dead, but it's that negative part of that culture still survives. And it's part of the thing that comes with Superman, right? Is the you do what's right, that always leaves you open to those that will exploit that.
Yeah. I mean, this is obviously setting up for something later on in the run. Johnson knows what he's doing here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say this part of it specifically was that eventful. It, like you say, it went in really quick. The art's not as good as the main book, obviously, and it all basically boils down to Cheadle's still in play for later.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what it does. So it's a little bit superfluous, I felt, but that one key plot point's obviously going to be relevant later.
Yeah.
I haven't been reading the backup, mainly because I looked at it, I saw it was Johnson writing, I thought, maybe I should. But I looked at the art in the first part, and I was just like, that's not for me.
You get whiplash. You do get whiplash going from the main art to backup.
Still happen.
Yeah. I did really like the art in the main book, though. I think the run's still as strong as it ever has been. It's doing a lot of interesting things and setting up this new status quo with the kids, and I think this build to a sympathetic villain in Metallo with Lex being super evil and having Johnson write super evil Lex is really interesting. So,
for sure.
Yeah. All right, what we give it? Connor?
I'm going to go with another 8, I think.
Matt?
8.5.
I'll probably side with Connor on this and go with a straight 8. I really like some of the individual scenes in it, but I don't necessarily think it's as strong as a whole.